So returning to the project here, you can see that I'm going to be subdividing these edges here and adding more curvature to the bottom of the can. Okay, as you can see, I've completed this new edge here. I'm going to select all the vertices in the edge and then see if I can curve it out a little bit more. There we go. Visually, cans strike me as being a little bit, I don't know, more concave than this, but my measurements indicate that this is actually correct. That this is exactly how it should look. So, we'll move to the front view again. Zoom out. Pan up. There are some housekeeping chores still to be done here. We're in object mode, so I have to get rid of this little ruler object. I'll delete that. And now I will go back to the edit mode. Oops. Do select the can first. Go back to the edit mode. Select all. Sometimes it takes more than one try because if something is selected, you can't do that. Mesh, normals, recalculate outside. Now, everything is done on this in terms of modeling, except for the top. Now, I am thinking that I will leave the top alone for now, because if you leave this blank, your options are more flexible when it comes to texturing it open or closed. It depends on how small the object is going to be in your game or simulation, as I said before, relative to the player or the observer. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to texture this, and I'm going to make the top and the bottom different materials from the center. Basically the sides, or the singular side. And that way I leave my options open. But for now I'm going to save this. Materials and texturing will be next. Okay, if you've watched my other videos on Blender modeling, you know that usually at this stage I start marking seams for the UV map. We'll start by saving this working file to a different file name. 103. And I think the way I'll approach this UV mapping project is I will make the top and the bottom not just separate from the rest of the can, but also a different material. But before I can do that, I need to mark this seam here. Now it's a little bit tricky actually, because if you see where this seam is, there's only one seam. See that? I'll zoom in a little bit here. See if how good an angle I can get here. That's the wrong way to do this, maybe. There, see? This lip, if you will, connects into here. So if I mark this seam here, all I get is this surface, and I want to get the rim. I think the solution to this is to actually mark the seam here, and maybe have a third material of silver for the rim. Just a silver texture, very plain. We'll see if we have to change this later. But I think that's, taking an educated guess, the best way to do this. So first I'll mark this seam here. So right-click for that vertex. Then I shift and right-click for this one. And I can move around the rim of the can, as you can see. And I'll probably zoom ahead in the video while I do this. Okay. There's the edge. So how do we mark a seam? So we go to Mesh, Edges, Mark Seam, and there it is. Now we'll do the bottom. Actually, I have a better idea. Now that I'm looking at this, we should mark this seam here so that this rim can be the third material. Because my plan is, the first material will be the tops, well, the top and the bottom, excuse me. The top and the bottom will be the first material. And then the second material will be the side, and then the third material will be that rim there. I think that's the most logical way to do this anyway. And to explain why I'm doing it that way, it's to make the UV maps simpler and more accurate. But another advantage of that approach is that it makes reskinning very easy. And of course, if this were to be released, it would be much more efficient if you could reskin it, of course. All right, so I am going to mark this seam now. So right-click, shift right-click, shift right-click, and so on. And I'll move around the rim, and we'll jump ahead in the video. Of course, in this situation, I'm getting close to finished here, I should add that because this seam is shared with the top, what that means is, in part, you can select from behind, like this. So from a view standpoint, it's a little bit easier. See, if I just swing over here, I select these, and then we got the seam. Now, another thing, well, first of all, we will go Mesh, Edges, Mark Seam, and we'll have to finish in the next video.